Climbing is a very unique experience. It forces you to be honest with yourself and everything that's going on around you. And the more honest you are, the safer you are. For the longest time, men have just been born stupid, unlucky, or unique enough to want to pursue the vertical. The need just to go up.
This is a story about three crazy climbers from Indiana, Jackson Ball, Bryan Ball, and David Ball, on a trip west that will cover some of the best climbing meccas in the western United States. Yosemite Valley, California, Bishop, Boulder, Colorado, and the High Sierras.
Well, we've been thinking about this trip for at least a year. So as we got within a couple of months of the trip, I became somewhat obsessed with the planning, and a couple of areas in particular, like, what are we going to sleep in as we go? And the first plan was to take the Trailblazer and our three-man tent and tent camp the whole way. And then sometime around March or April or so, Jane kind of reminded me of a camper we had seen in Michigan last August called a Go, and it's a real innovative camper designed for people who are outdoors, kayakers, bicyclists, climbers, and it's a very lightweight trailer that has a fairly large tent on it that opens up, and you're off the ground, and you have seating and a table. But again, it's very lightweight and you can carry a lot of gear on it, so it was perfect for our trip. And so part of the process was purchasing one of these campers. And then the other part of the problem was we're going to pull it with our Equinox, and like any vehicle, it has certain weight limits. And so between the camper and our gear and what we needed for our camping, sleeping bags, kitchen, and so forth, we had to make sure we were within the weight limitations and what we could put in the Equinox and on the camper. So I came up with a tub system using Rubbermaid tubs inside the Equinox, and Rubbermaid tubs, the bigger locking ones underneath the camper. So I put together this kind of jigsaw puzzle of tubs inside the car and under the camper to store all of our gear, our clothing, our climbing stuff, our camping stuff. And it all came together rather nicely in the end.
It's way too early.
Are you filming me right now?
Maybe? Wait, you want to do that again? This looks pretty good if you don't zoom in too close. You can't see all the noise.
Dude, all this is good.
Bye!
Now, if I hit the camera, it should go right to camera.
No,
right?
what happens is you do that.
Oh, because I've been punching it. I'm going, it doesn't work. The adventure begins.
Right after we get gas.
I don't have my seatbelt on because I'm stopping at the bank.
Oh.
The first day, we decided that we weren't going to pass up an opportunity to climb at the So Ill climbing gym in St. Louis. It's like one of the most famous climbing gyms in the country. A friend of ours had worked there for about a year, and so what we decided to do was to, get 4 or 5 hours under our belt driving to St. Louis, and then stop at the So Ill gym and climb at that gym, which we did. And we ended up staying, I think I only had planned for us to stay for 2 hours, and we ended up staying 3.5 hours because we were having so much fun. big gym, beautiful gym, tall gym. And that kind of put us behind. We ended up getting to Topeka a little later than we wanted, but it was well worth the stop. We had a great time climbing there.
Base, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission: to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilization, to boldly go where no man has gone before. To boldly go where no man has gone before.
Who's excited about the system?
I'm excited about the food. Hi, I'm Bryan, and this is my crib. So I'm going to show you around a little bit. So first, right now, we have a door, a basic necessity in my crib. So first we unzip that. That's a piece of magic. So we come up. Here's my dining area. This is where I do all my eating and whatnot, and sometimes my computer gaming. Let's not look at that. That's personal stuff. Over here, we have the Beast's Lair. This is where my older brother lives. We try not to go near this area. We hear it's kind of radioactive with some sort of contamination I'm not familiar with. Over here are my quarters, or as we call this, the Love Arena.
Is that where the magic happens?
This is where the magic happens. And now, let me show you my father's bed. This is where my father sleeps at night. We try to kick him as much as we can so we can get him to knock his head on the table, but it never just seems to go. And whenever we have to take a tinkle break in the middle of the night, we have to gently just step past his head. But this is the interior. On the exterior, you have a step, and that's about it. So, I'm Bryan Ball, and this is my crib.
Well, yesterday was kind of a long day. It was a training day where we learned a great deal about placing traditional protection and about using that trad equipment to build anchors from which we can belay other climbers. So it was kind of a long classroom type day, but a valuable day and a good day. Well, today we hope to do some climbing. So the plan as we left it yesterday is to have us climb some easy routes. What was that noise? And have our guide Craig either climb along beside us to check our gear placement, or he may be on a rope from the top and moving up with us to check our gear placement. And this afternoon we're going to do a climb, hopefully the dome that's been adjacent to where we were all day yesterday.
rocking and rolling. Have you seen those Will Sasso videos yet of Arnold Schwarzenegger driving?
I've seen a couple of them.
It's so funny.
I've seen the "I'm drunk, let me drive" one.
Have you seen the one where he's actually driving?
Alright.
No.
It's great.
Yeah, so if this becomes, it actually looks like it's feeding pretty well.
Yeah.
But,
5 feet in, doing pretty good. That's what my girlfriend tells me. Oh, no. I don't have a girlfriend.
okay,
Forced decision because I shake my helmet all the time because
Yeah.
my head itches.
She unclip.
Bird?
Pigeon.
Alright. Sup, bro? Alright, that's pecking its neck.
Pigeons is funny because in the cities they're like past, but up here it's kind of cool.
Yeah. So basically what's been happening is we've been going to sleep in a nice quiet Colorado evening, and then about like midnight I'll wake up and just hear off in the distance. I'll be like, well, that's not good. And so I get up and we zip up all the things real quick because it wakes all of us up, and about 10 minutes later just like this really harsh wind just starts just like shaking and rolling the camper around, and it's just like billowing against the side of the tent, just like as you're trying to sleep. And then sometimes we get rain, but it's mostly just like 30-mile-per-hour winds. And basically it's been just shredding our camper, where things are starting to come undone now because the wind's been so harsh.
Okay, we came home from a great day of climbing. Climbed 2 multi-pitches, it was awesome. But there were real high winds, especially in the afternoon. And when we came back, we discovered we'd had high winds here, and the awning to the camper corner had ripped up that you normally stake down, and then we found that on each of the 2 sides, and this may have been caused, I don't think this could have been caused though, by the vestibule, that some of the material had torn away here, and more seriously here, so that now the side wings sag a little bit. Everything's still usable, still sleepable. Looks like it's still watertight and everything, but certainly we had some damage. And then we had a bend in the tent snap rod there, which we've kind of been able to straighten out. It's still a little cockeyed, but it's not bad. It's just not as taut and shapely as it normally would be, but all of it's fixable. We just hope it survives the rest of the trip, and hope we don't have so much wind anymore. How we doing? Well, after Boulder, it was a long 2-day drive to get to Yosemite, and we arrived at our campground outside the park, late on the 2nd day. And then the 3rd and 4th day, we basically drove into the park and into Yosemite Valley, which is one of the most beautiful places on earth, and renowned for its magnificent climbing, magnificent walls, some of the most majestic and proud lines on the planet. And so the first day we did some bouldering in the valley, which was fun, and just some looking around and taking it all in, especially of course our objective El Capitan, but you know, a lot of the other walls as well. And then the second day we had about a half day, 3/4 of a day to climb, and we did some crack climbing, some trad crack climbing just outside of Camp 4, which is the most famous campground in climbing there is. It's where climbers have stayed for decades, right there in the valley. And then it was off to meet our guide for 2 days of backcountry camping and our Sierra adventure of climbing. This is awesome. We're bouldering in Yosemite Valley on real granite with real routes and topping out. It's awesome.
Nice. Go. Let's go. Oh, I had it.
Yeah.
And we're rocking the team shirts today. The Salt Lake, Utah shirts.
We've been getting a lot of weird looks and we don't know why. We think there's a prejudice against Salt Lake City in this part of California. Because people
Very prejudiced.
People have been like pointing at us and laughing and throwing stuff at us. Usually it's small children.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're out here in Yosemite and we're climbing on granite and my fingertips are no longer in existence.
They're like gone.
Mine are like, do you know that scene from Alien where the alien comes out? It's nothing like that, but my fingers hurt. This week on Bryan vs. Wild, I've been challenged to try to survive a week in this Yosemite wilderness. I've been in this wilderness for a few hours now. I'm completely lost. Luckily, I'm an expert survival guide. By looking at this rock and seeing that the moss is growing on this side, I can determine that the moss means south. So I'm gonna go this way, knowing that north always leads to civilization. After my directional problems of going north, I realized I was going west. I've lost a lot of time and a lot of energy, so it's time to replenish. Luckily, you can find food here almost anywhere. So we're just gonna look around. Here we go. A natural growing resource in this part of the region, the good old Cliff Bar. These are very native to the Yosemite people, and they use these as a usual entree and or seasoning device. You gotta make sure you really inhale most of the nutrients. And then for the extra boost, you just throw it right up your mouth. After wandering westward for hours, the sun is beginning to set and I need to find shelter. Luckily, I found this. The Yosemite white pine. Ancient tribes of this age used to sleep in these up for years and they'd be safe. So I'm just gonna scamper up this. And I'm going to take refuge here for the night. And this will keep me safe for an untold time. So I'll be here and I'll see you in the morning. Welcome, it's morning now. I've slept a good night's sleep, approximately 3.5 hours. And now it's time to look for liquid, because if there's anything more important than nutrition, it's liquids. So I'll begin my excursion to the wilderness of the Yosemite Valley.
The Gray Eagle fiasco. Well, this was Saturday, our first full day in the Sierras. This was just south of Yosemite Park proper, and we drove about an hour on national forest roads to get to this backcountry campground. And then the morning we spent with another guide whose name was Drew, and the morning was spent on a rock face where we again practiced climbing, placing traditional equipment, and building anchors, and having our guide check us out. And he was more than satisfied with our ability. So we went back to our campground after that. It was only a short drive from where we had parked. And then the afternoon was the big adventure. We were going to do a 4-pitch, multi-pitch traditional climb on a formation called Gray Eagle. The route itself was called Captain Obvious. And it was about 700 feet, so certainly the absolute biggest climb we'd ever done, certainly the biggest trad climb we'd ever done, and the most adventurous climb we'd ever done. We started off about 2 in the afternoon. The estimate was that it would be about a 5 or 6 hour round trip, so that would put us back on the ground and headed back to the car sometime between 7 and 8.
Up rope.
Ready to go?
Ready to go.
Here we go.
Let's go climbing. Comfy cozy for that first piece, all right? You can go early if you want. You don't have to wait as long as Drew did. Oh! That's spectacular.
Think about that climb.
Oh. Like I said, I couldn't lead it. It was a fun climb.
Yeah, it was freaking terrifying for me.
I bet.
Why don't you look at me? You're like, I've got like 30 minutes of the sky.
Well, I'm looking at Drew. Yeah, Drew.
Yeah, I see it. That's the way I'm heading. About you gents, but I've been pretty scared on the past 2 pitches. Especially leading. The top of the first pitch, I feel like I free soloed 40 feet of it.
Jackson, can you get into Dad's backpack and get us? Is there any fruit snacks in there? So far, he's been my favorite guide. I think that's just because he snuggles with me at night and cooks for me. But that's just me.
Oh, there's bolts up here. Yeah. This is like sitting on top of the muck.
Well, we took a little longer to get up than we had thought. We got to the top at about 7:30 on the 4 pitches, which went very well. Then we had to rappel down. There was a separate rappel route on the way down, and so we got set up on the first rappel station, which means we're all basically anchored in to 2 bolts. And Drew, this was a double rope rappel, so we tied 2 ropes together, and so a 200-foot first rappel. Drew rappelled down. He went over the sledge and kind of disappeared. We couldn't see him for very long on the rappel. And I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 minutes later, we hear him yell up, "Rappel off," which means he's off the rappel and it's ready, time for the next guy to go. So Jackson heads on down over the ledge and we don't see him. And then there's Bryan and I are sitting up at the top. It's getting dark, it's getting cold, and there's kind of a long delay, and we kind of wonder what's going on. So we yell down, "Hey guys, what's going on?" Because we can't see them 200 feet below. And we're told to hold on, which was a little disconcerting. And then we see the rope getting maneuvered back and forth, and we're like, boy, we hope they're not pulling down the rope, which we knew they weren't, but it was still somewhat disconcerting. And then pretty soon the call came for Bryan to rappel. So Bryan goes over the edge and rappels, which leaves me up at the top on the sledge all by myself, which is fine, I suppose. And then before long, Bryan rappel off, and I start my rappel. Well, as I go over the ledge, I realize what the delay was and what the concern was. The rope was getting caught between what are called chicken heads, which are kind of bumps in the rock. And the concern is that as we pull down the rope from where it is to rappel from the next station, that the knot might get caught. Well, I realize this as I'm going by, and I yell down to Drew, "Hey, you want me to get the rope out of these chicken heads?" And he says, "Yeah, that would be great." So I get the rope clear, but I get about another 30 or 40 feet down, and I look up, and now the rope is again between 2 other chicken heads. And so we may have the same problem, but there's nothing I can do about it at that time, so I go ahead and rappel on down, and all the other guys, of course, are anchored in at the next rappel station, and so now comes time to pull the rope down. Well, I start helping Drew pull the rope down, and we give it a pull, and we get 10 feet of rope, and that's good, and we give it another pull, and we get another 10 feet of rope, and that's good. Well, about the 4th pull, we pull, and we don't get any rope, and the rope's stuck, which means our lifeline is now stuck above us, and we have no way to get down without getting that rope unstuck. Well, Drew, being the professional that he is, immediately goes into action, and we take some of the rope that we pulled down, and he rappels off of kind of the side of the ledge we're on to where he can scramble up through a cutout in the rock formation and solo up to where the other end of the rope is, which he does successfully, and then he gets tied into both ropes there, which means he's now safe once again. And he works his way up the rope and eventually gets opposite of where it's stuck, frees the rope, builds an anchor there with some equipment he was willing to leave, because he's going to have to leave the gear as he builds the anchor, rappels back down, and so now we're back in business. Well, by now though it's dark, so we're pulling out headlamps, and we're going to have to do the last 3 rappels and the scramble at the bottom in the dark, and it's getting cold and we're kind of hungry and kind of thirsty, but anyway, it's quite an adventure. We eventually get down to the bottom well after dark. Then we have about an hour hike out and then a drive back to the campground. So our first big multi-pitch traditional climb, we got the full adventure.
So we're gonna go have a meal with Peter Croft, one of the pioneers of climbing first free ascent of Moonlight Buttress. One of the few to climb the Hulk. Once held the speed record on the nose.
First link up of Half Dome in the nose.
First link up of Half Dome in the nose.
Major free soloist of the 80s.
Do you want me to hold the camera for you? Or... Yeah, we're gonna go have breakfast with him, and then a guy named Howie from, I don't remember.
Sierra Mountain Guides.
From that guide company, and then we're gonna have breakfast with them, and then we were originally gonna go climb the third pillar of Dana, but there's gonna be winds of 35 miles per hour up there, and so we're not gonna do that.
Well, Bishop is an interesting experience. Bishop is in the middle of a desert valley in California, about an hour and a half south of Yosemite, in the kind of eastern part of the state. And the town itself is, it's just in the desert, and it was windy, and it seemed dry, and somewhat desolate. But surrounding Bishop is all kinds of great stuff. Bishop is known for its bouldering. It's got great boulder fields where you can go bouldering. And then it's less than an hour drive to get up into the eastern Sierras and do some, rope climbing, crack climbing, whatever you want to do. So on first look, Bishop doesn't look like much, but it's really an excellent place. And Peter Croft, one of the legendary climbers of our day, lives in Bishop, and we had an opportunity to climb with him through a guide service. And originally we were supposed to climb a formation called Third Pillar of Dana, a very high formation just outside of Yosemite, but it was too windy to do that. And so we ended up just doing a day of crag climbing with Peter, and it started off with a breakfast. We met Peter for breakfast at a small resort 25 minutes north of Bishop, and just chatted about climbing, which was excellent. And then we drove about a half an hour into the Sierras into a place called the Patricia Bowl, which had a mountain lake and then mountain formations all around it, and about an hour hike up. And so we spent the day with Peter Croft, crack climbing, single pitch stuff, but learning a lot from him about gear and gear placement and crack climbing, and just spending the day hearing stories, from a legendary climber about his adventures with other legendary climbers, and getting great first-hand knowledge of climbing and how to do it well and how to do it safely. It was in beautiful weather, beautiful place, great climber. It was just a great day overall. Well, overall the trip was I would say a tremendous success. At each step of the way we got the experience that we wanted to get. We acquired the skill that we wanted to get. It was, I forget, 17 or 19 days altogether. But eventually you have to come home, and you have to regroup, and you have to continue your training, and then go out on the next adventure. And so we went a long way to our goal of climbing El Capitan. Probably along the way we'll be climbing the northwest route of Half Dome, which is 2,000 feet. El Cap is 3,000 feet. So that's going to be a natural step in our progress as we go. There'll be other climbing in between there too, I'm sure. So successful trip, got what we wanted, advanced our climbing the way we wanted to, and now it's on to the next adventure, some of which would be probably Devil's Tower in Wyoming, Smith Rock in Oregon, Half Dome in the valley, all moving towards that ultimate goal of 3,000 feet of El Cap someday.